Hey guys, so today we're going to be building one of our largest enclosures here at the sanctuary. This one will be for Octavia, who's also our largest resident. She is a Argentine black and white tegu. So it should be a pretty cool process, and I hope it ends up looking good. I guess we'll see. But stick along, and I hope you guys enjoy. So I'm recording this a little while afterwards because when you're doing a big project like this, it's really hard to work and talk at the same time. So we sort of split it into two different jobs to make it more achievable and more accessible for us to get out to you guys. But this is a huge project that took a couple of days. I'm sure it could be done in a day if you had a day to do it all, but I built it one day and then got some extra help from Cam and a good friend of ours, Sarah, who volunteered to help me put it all together. But here I'm building this all so we have it ahead of time. So when I do get that help, it's already ready to go. And I don't have to waste time that I could have done doing this anyway. But that's why this voiceover might sound a bit weird at some points. It's because I'm trying to remember back to what I was thinking in those moments or what I was doing. But right now in the video, I'm building the initial structure. We're upgrading Octavia from a enclosure that's 6 by 4 by 4 feet to 8 foot by 4 foot by I think 6 foot tall. That it slopes a little bit in the middle, but overall I think it's going to be a huge benefit to her. It gives us more vertical space to play with, and hopefully I'm a big plant person, and hopefully we can add some plants in later. There I showed you a little bit of what that looks like more from a further perspective. You can sort of see it in the background. Here's Sarah and Cameron trying to figure out the actual tent section of it. Now it might look weird putting a lizard in a tent, but the reason that keepers typically use these grow tent structures, if they do use it, is because number one, especially if you get it on sale, it's a good price, but also it keeps in humidity really well and holds up a lot of the time to their sort of scratching at things. Obviously it shifted, and we're dismantling her old enclosure. This is what it used to look like, and it's actually was supposed to be 6 foot tall, but we flipped it on its side to be easier. We have those reeds against the walls to prevent her from potentially digging through the walls. Tegus love to dig. They love to burrow and those sort of things, and we don't want her to accidentally dig through. Not that she would get into anything, but we try to take all the precautions we can. We also have multiple layers on the bottom to prevent her from digging downward through stuff. And we just try to take as many precautions as we can. But you can see we were removing a lot of the dirt to move into the new enclosure. And here we are trying to figure out the next best step. You could see sort of me and Cameron talking there. I distinctly remember we were debating on whether or not to put the tarp in before or after moving it. And we ended up moving it in later, just so it all, went more smoothly, I guess. Here, we kind of skipped a middle section where we moved her old enclosure out of the way. We're moving it in. We're moving the tarp in to hold a lot of that dirt. I don't know what we went off to do at this point, but I was getting zip ties. That makes sense. As you can tell, I am recording this a while later, so I wasn't lying. But we are adding in those zip ties to hold the tarp up so that it doesn't drape down as much, as well as sort of run up the walls a little bit more to provide even more protection behind those reeds that we'll add later. We're adding in the sort of bottom section to add even a third layer between Octavia and the dirt and the ground. We're adding in more zip ties, tying things in, and comes the dirt. A lot of this is going to be old dirt, and then we're going to mix in a lot of new dirt. The reason we like to mix in some of the old dirt as well as some, you can see some plant fibers in there, is to make sure that any isopods or anything like that we add in are going to thrive in that environment and have dead plant matter and those sort of things to eat as they go. So we're adding some sand. This helps her burrows hold structure as she digs through them. Let me tell you, this is a fun process mixing all this through. Prepare yourself to get dirty if you ever choose to do this. But when sand and dirt is wet, it holds burrows a lot better. It sort of shapes around where the animal's digging a lot better. And as I stated multiple times, she loves to dig. So this is the equivalent of me digging in a sandbox as a far too old person to be digging in a sandbox, but here I am. I run off. You could see I cleared off that section and I just threw that giant rock. This is going to go beneath her basking side, and that's going to hold in heat pretty well, as well as that giant tile and those sort of things. We lost some footage there in the middle, but we added those reeds back in on the sides. We're adding some lighting, so that's a big UVB. Typically we have each side alternating a year, so that way we always have a bulb that's going for 6 months and holding that UVB for the animal. I'm installing a ceramic heat emitter and a basking spot lamp as well, sort of off screen. I'm getting stuff ready for that and feeding the wires through the holes. The other hard thing with having an enclosure this tall is making sure that your animal gets the heat it needs we don't really want Octavia climbing all the way to the top to get heat. So we have to make adjustments to hold the lamps up in a safe way, running wires and things. And there we go. We also added the logs and rocks in for her. That was also part of the footage that we lost, but it is a cool little setup for her. You can see now I'm misting some things down to make sure everything's ready for her, as well as clean off a few of her logs and things from some of the dust when we first put them in there. But we really, really think she's gonna enjoy this. And I'll attach a clip here at the end of her sort of exploring her new enclosure.